Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Tabletop Super Show. On today's show, we're going to get into miniature pinning using just a, inexpensive miniature model drill or Pin-Vise like this one from the Army Painter. Now, before we get down to this, I want to show you guys a few tools that you're going to need to, accomplish this. What you're going to need is, first you're going to need a miniature, something that you're going to be pinning. In this case, this is a metal miniature from Willie Miniatures, Tree Man, for a fantasy genre football league. This is a Pin-Vise from the Army Painter. You're going to want some files if you're working with, or sanding sticks if you're working with resin to pin these models. You're also going to need something to pin with. In this case, we've got a good old-fashioned paper clip. Now nowadays, paper clips have a tendency to have a plastic coating on them. So get yourself a pair of needle nose pliers, and there you go. Pull a little bit of plastic coating off, leave yourself with just some metal. You're also going to want an old pair of sprue cutters, or just some cheap sprue cutters to accomplish this. So let's get to it. Okay guys, so here we are. A couple more things you guys are going to need before we start this. You're going to want to have some glue. What I have here is some BSI Maxicure from Bob Smith Industries. And you're going to want yourself a little bit of gap filler, like Milliput, or if you have it, green stuff. So, first, take a look at a Pin-Vise. This is a Pin-Vise. This is the one by Army Painter I showed you guys earlier. So Pin-Vise has a little bit of a free wheel at the back of it. And what you do is you grab it, push it into the palm of your hand, hold on to it, and you turn it when applying pressure clockwise to drill, and then counterclockwise to pull out. Now, once you've drilled a hole with this, make sure to actually back it out by spinning it counterclockwise. This will protect your bit from being broken. So, here's our Willie miniature. Before we can even get started doing any of this, I have to check the fitment. This is how the miniature is going to fit together. And as you see, the fitment is not great. So this is why I have a file here. What we're going to do is take the file, we're going to take a little bit of this off. Just try to get it a little bit smoother before we start the actual pinning. Now let's take a look. And that is much nicer. So let's go ahead and start pinning. So just like I was saying before, you just kind of grab it. Then started this just a littlest bit. I'm going to show you guys. Just apply a little bit of pressure. Turn it clockwise. And it will begin to drill the hole. So, hole's being drilled. Now, we're going to check it. You may have to do this a few times before you get the depth that you want for the actual pin. Like this needs a little bit more, so keep doing it. Now, take a look at our piece of metal. Check. Still needs just a little bit more. I like to actually insert my pin into whatever the larger piece is of the two pieces you're going to be using, because it makes it a little bit easier later on to get the positioning right. So if it's a limb or head, generally try to put the pin itself into the body and glue it first. This should just about do it. Well, maybe just a tiny bit more. Really do want to have a decent grip when we do this. And back it out till it comes free. Clean any flashing off of it, and that should do it this time. Thanks for bearing with me, and that's fine. So, what I like to do is, now you're going to grab your little sprue, your little old sprue cutter, take just a small piece of your pin. And we're going to glue it in. I like to glue them a little bit long, and you'll see why in a minute. So, get your pin piece. Get a little bit of this glue on it. Add maybe a dot of glue to the hole. And let's get it shoved into there. Try to get it, keep it as straight as possible, and it will set up in generally about 15 to 20 seconds. And then we should be able to continue on with the next part. Now we can actually set this aside for a minute, and let's start working on the other side. So I started this one as well. This one, we'll be doing the same thing, just kind of drilling into it. Back it out. Yep. Okay. Now, we're going to cut this down just a little bit. And let's take a look at the fitment. Now, you're going to have to do a little bit of fine tuning with this. To get it to work properly. So, down even a little bit more. Pin is in. Pin is set. I'll show you guys something I like to do. Let's get it just the tiniest bit more. Sorry if I was out of frame a little bit on these. I'm trying to keep it in frame while I'm working on this. But you guys get the idea. Okay. So, fitment looks pretty darn good now. So we're going to glue this into place. Now I'm going to show you guys why I got the milliput out. Never really tried this with such a small piece, but let's see if we can make it work. So, let's get a little worm of this stuff. See if we can get our gap filling all done at the same time that we do the gluing. Thing like that. Now, get your glue back out again. Add a dot there. Add a dot to the hole. And now, we're going to pin him. Now most of the gap filling will already be done for us because it just squeezed a lot of it out. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of this extra paper clip and we're just going to scrape some of this stuff off. Easy peasy. Now, before priming this, when you're working with milliput, even if you've well mixed your two-part epoxy putty together, it's generally a good idea to let this stuff sit for a few hours. I'm actually going to let it sit overnight before I even attempt to do any priming and prepare this model for painting. But there we go. Show you guys before I actually already did. This is kind of what it looks like later on once you're done doing the gap filling and everything's dried on it. So, there we have it. Might need a little tiny bit of gap filling here at the back, but it looks pretty good actually. Once it's primed up, you aren't really going to be able to see it. Shouldn't be afraid to try stuff like this. You read a lot of times online people talking about they buy a Pin-Vise or something that's a cheaper made or whatnot. They're like, oh, the bits are going to break. Well, sometimes they just aren't using it properly. Just remember to, when you're drilling in, to always back it back out, and that'll protect your bit. So, I mean, that's pretty much how I do it. Now, some people actually like to do these pins and make it so that they can later on just kind of have it on a swivel so that they can move their models around. I don't recommend this for, Warhammer, skirmish, wargame armies, or stuff like Blood Bowl, especially for Blood Bowl and fantasy football, because you're going to be proning your miniatures a lot because they get knocked over and stay on there. So if you want to keep your bits and pieces from falling off, this is what you do. So I hope you guys learned something. No, it was a lot of fun to make this video for you. Folks, that's how I pin metal miniatures. If you got any value from this video, please grab the nearest pin vise and carefully drill a hole in the like button. Then proceed to shove a wire into it and carry it to the top of a mountaintop during a thunderstorm until a bolt from the blue strikes it. If you enjoy the content on this channel, please consider subscribing below. It's really easy to do, it only takes a second. And well, that's all I have for you now, folks. So we'll see you in the next video, and bye.